Tractate Shekalim, the tractate discussing the laws of the Half-Shekel coin tax that was required to be paid by Jewish individuals while the temple stood in order to fund many of the temple offerings and services, is a bit of a unique tractate, in that every other tractate has and will be a part of the Babylonian Talmud, the more typically learned variation of its counterpart, the Jerusalem Talmud. They largely discuss the same topics with similar tractates and similar conversations, but the Jerusalem Talmud has a few additional tractates in regards to tithes or laws that were specifically applicable in that region, like certain charities to be given from your produce and similar. One of those tractates from the Jerusalem Talmud is this one, of Tractate Shekalim. In comparison to the Babylonian Talmud, it has some unique formatting and discussions, and obviously the laws of the half-shekel tax are very particular, but still, it's considered to be linked with the Babylonian Talmud and has no Babylonian Talmud equivalent, unlike most of the other tractates, so this one is also uniquely learnt as a part of the Babylonian Talmud tract. Chapter 1 will begin by discussing these laws of this tax. The first Mishnah says, on the first of the Hebrew month of Adar, announcements were made about the requirements to give this half-shekel tax, and also to be careful in regards to the laws of Kilayim, forbidden plant mixtures. On the 15th of the month of Adar, as will be mentioned later in Tractate Megillah, cities which had walls by the time of Yahushua have the Megillah scroll, the Book of Esther, read for them by the holiday of Purim, and they also start repairing roads, streets, and mikvahs, attending to the public needs and whatnot. They mark the graves, which will be explained, and they inspect the fields for forbidden plant mixtures. The Gemara says that the Shekalim tax announcement is made on the 1st of Adar, so everybody will have time to bring in their coins, which are then taken out from the temple on the 1st of the next month, Nisan. It cites some verses as source for this. Sometimes there's a leap year, in which case there are 2 months of Adar, Adar 1 and Adar 2. Referred to as Adar Aleph and Adar Beis respectively. There is debate as to which of these 2 months the Shekalim announcement would occur on if there's such a leap year. It's said to be the 2nd month in all regions due to concern of procrastination. It then talks about how the evil inclination coerces people into doing not good things related to the topic of procrastination, and it speaks about how it convinced people to donate their valuables to the golden calf, and then it also brings the verses which source a lot of this discussion. It also clarifies points by the reading of the Megillah scroll on the holiday of Purim, that most people read it on the 14th of Adar, and people from walled cities read it on the 15th, but they can also do it on the 14th, and it's done on the 2nd month of Adar only during a leap year. Generally, in regards to these 2 months, mitzvahs that are done during the 2nd Adar are not done in the 1st, besides for eulogizing and fasting, which are prohibited on both the 14th and 15th of both months, even though Purim is only celebrated by the 2nd month. There's also argument by documents that we write the 1st Adar by a 1st Adar and by a 2nd Adar. Some say you just write Adar, some say you write the 2nd Adar. It also goes through some of the public needs which were taken care of on this date, also trying monetary or capital cases, taking care of the Sota ceremony, purifying the Mitzvah, and many others. It also explains the points of marking gravestones with lime to mark locations of impurity, and it says some verses as source. It also says we don't mark just dead flesh that's lying around, as that decomposes. New Mishnah. We said previously that inspectors are sent out to find if there are improper plant mixtures in the fields. It says that originally the inspectors would just uproot the plants and give them to the farmers. Then it kept on becoming an issue, so they would just toss the plants onto the roads, and eventually they just made it that they'd declare the whole field ownerless. The Gemara explains this process that they just stopped pulling out the plants for them, as the farmers were just happy that they were getting free weeding of their fields. And it also lists sources that the court is allowed to declare other people's fields ownerless, and it gets into a discussion as to whether or not such a field is exempt from tithes. We bring sources which show that it is, in fact, exempt. New Mishnah. Back to the half-shekel tax. On the 15th of Adar, money changers would go out to the provinces to exchange their currencies for the half-shekels. On the 25th of Adar, they would go to the temple. From this point, they would take pledges for people paying late, which could be taken by Leviim, Yisraelim, converts, and freed slaves, but not from women slaves or minors. And if a father pays for his minor son's half-shekel tax, he shouldn't stop doing this until his son becomes an adult. We don't force Kohanim to pay their pledges to promote peace, which will be explained. There's actually argument based on verses if Kohanim are obligated to pay this tax in the first place, or if it's only optional for them. The Gemara says we don't extract a pledge from a minor, but you can demand it from them. If the minor in question is fully prepubescent, we don't even demand that he pays this tax, and we only start extracting a pledge from people once they turn 20. It says we don't extract pledges from Kohanim as we want to treat them respectfully. The verses as sources are discussed. New Mishnah. We don't seize collateral from women, slaves, or minors, but if they want to contribute to the half-shekel fund, we accept it. We don't accept coins for this fund from people who worship idols or from Kuthians, nor do we accept certain offerings to the temple from them either. Generally, we accept things that are vowed or donated from them, but otherwise, if the donation is for the upkeep of the temple, we don't. We bring verses as sources. There's also the Kolbun tax, which was a small addition sometimes added to the half-shekel tax, and was obligated to be paid by Levitim, Yisraelim, converts, and freed slaves, but not Kohanim, women, slaves, or minors. If someone donated a shekel on behalf of a Kohen woman, slave, or minor, they are still exempt from the additional Kolbun tax. If you donate a half-shekel for yourself and for someone else, you're obligated to pay 1 Kolbun. Others say you pay 2. If you contribute a Mishnaic era Salah, which is worth 2 biblical Shekalim, and you take 1 shekel change, you'd be liable to pay 2 Kolbanes. If you donate a shekel on behalf of a poor person or your neighbor or similar, there is no Kolbun addition on this. If the coin was lent to him, they are obligated to pay it. If brothers are partners, meaning they share inheritance from their father, if they are obligated to pay the Kolbun tax, they wouldn't be obligated to pay the animal ma'aser tithes. And if they were obligated to pay the animal ma'aser tithes, they wouldn't be obligated to pay the Kolbun tax. Well, how much is this Kolbun tax? Some say it's a ma'ah, an old form of measurement of silver. Others say it's half that amount. The Gemara qualifies these points and says some dissenting arguments in regards to accepting donations for the upkeep of the temple from Kuthians or individuals who worship idols. Some say it's allowed after the completed assembly of the temple with non-distinctive objects. Others disagree. This is argued on further. Sources are also cited. The opinion that requires you to pay 2 kolbanes along with your half-shekel tax and your friends is because he says that both the half-shekel and the kolbun are biblically required, based on a source that when God told Moshe about the half-shekel contribution, he demonstrated by showing a coin of fire brought from beneath God's throne. So to ensure that all coins are the proper size and weight, this opinion holds that it's mandatory to add the additional kolbun tax biblically. The remaining points are also further discussed. It also discusses the points on the animal ma'aser tithes by brothers that share an inheritance and says some disagreement as to what's exactly done with the kolbanes fund. Some say it was put as part of the Shekalim fund, others say it went to the voluntary offering fund, others said it was used to buy gold sheets as plating for the temple, some said it was used as the fee for the money changers, and others said it was used for the money changers' travel expenses. And that's the end of chapter 1.